Hi everyone, this is Ricky with Bromero Cards. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Today's card, we're going to be using a stamp set by Colorado Craft Company called A Queen's Crown. And this is it. Wow, look at that. It's spectacular. It's a nice big piece. It's from their Big and Bold series. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to be using some Nina Solar white paper here, and we are going to be using some oxide inks to get this stamped out today. So we're going to go ahead and get this lined up onto the Misty here. This is the new Misty. I love it. It's great. So we have that onto the Misty here in the paper, and now this is where the fun begins. We are going to make a rainbow crown. Let me zoom out there for a second. So here we go. We're going to be using candied apple, and we're using the brush to place this onto the stamp set because we don't want any harsh lines through the colors. So using the brushes helps get that even layer onto the stamp here. And we're just going to go through the colors of the rainbow. And I'm going to show you this once. I do this several times throughout this video, so one time I think is good enough for everyone. But we're going to go ahead and get all these colors onto the stamp, and we're just going in rainbow order. And then we finally are down to a wilted violet, which is a wonderful purple. And then we're going to go ahead and get this stamped over. Now I did do this twice, so I'm not going to show you all that. But this is the result of the first one. And then this is the result of the second stamp that's on there. Now we're going to make a second card, but we're going to use the residuals of the oxide inks. We're going to spray it with some water, and then we're going to stamp it down on the black paper. And it's really faded right now, but we're going to let this dry a little bit, and then once it dries, we are then going to do a coating of the rainbow as well on top of that, just so it gives it a little bit more color onto the cardstock. And we're just going to follow the same rule that we did for the other one, and we're going to go ahead and apply all the colors. I'm not going to show you the whole process. We're going to put the yellow on, and then we'll skip over to the final result as I stamp over. So here we go to stamping it over, and as you can see, it's still going to be pretty light, but that's okay because what we're going to add to this is going to make it pop out even more. Next thing I'm going to do is just going to cut this down so it'll fit on a card base. It's a little bit shorter than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, enough to have a little bit of a border to show around the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing for the white piece here because on this one we will be using a black frame. So here we go. I'm just going to show you how we're going to do this. There's a thin frame around it. When I make my cards, I usually tend to have a thin frame around every card base or card panel. So that's why I have that. We're going to go ahead and get this glued down. We're using art glitter glue, one of my favorite glues. And we're going to get this lined up. And oh, my head doesn't show too much into the picture. I guess, I was on my natural ability to get things lined up. So here we go. We're going to use the embossing powder buddy here thing, and we're going to go ahead and get embossing powder all over the front of the card, and we're going to be using one of the sentiments from the stamp set. This sentiment is going to go all the way across the top of the card, and we're going to be doing this with white embossing powder. And I'm just getting this lined up with the lines on the Misty. And then we're going to go ahead and get this stamped with some VersaFine ink here, or VersaMark ink. It's just a sticky ink that allows the powder to stick to the cardstock. So we'll go ahead and get that on, and then we'll go ahead and pour on the embossing powder, and we'll get that heated up. You want to make sure that you get all the little pieces off of the card that really don't belong there. So you just take a little brush and you just scoot some stuff over. Well, that's not a little brush, but yeah, you get the idea. And then we're going to go ahead and get that heat embossed. Now this did curl up a little bit, so I just wanted to flatten it out with just a little bit. So I let it sit to the side under the Misty for a little bit. And then here you're also going to see me fold it back a little bit just so that it gets a little bit more flat. So we're going to use the art glitter glue again, and we are going to place this onto the card base. And then this card is done. We're going to trim off the little side there, but I don't show you that, but there was a little extension. Now we're going to be doing the sentiment onto the rainbow colored cardstock on the white paper. I'm using the sentiment, "Yas, Queen." on this card, and it comes from the set also. And I'm just getting this lined up and placed where I need it to be. Obviously, I needed my head to do that, so that's why it appeared. And then here we're going to use some VersaMark or VersaFine Nocturne ink, which is a really black ink. And I could have left this here, but I decided to go ahead and just stamp it one more time because I want it to be a little bit darker. And now that we have that there, we also are going to put a sentiment strip onto the card as well. And I'm just getting this lined up into the MISTI to make sure that it's straight. And this sentiment says, "You are fierce." So we're going to use the VersaMark here, and we're going to go ahead and get that stamped down. I usually do this twice because I don't want to press too hard. I don't want the sentiment to get like kind of smashed down and you can't read it. And we're just going to follow the same steps that we did for the crown on the black cardstock. We're just going to use some white heat embossing powder, and we're going to go ahead and get this heat embossed. I want to cut this down to a small strip, so I use my Tim Holtz trimmer here to go ahead and get that done. I did notice that once I took it out of the trimmer, it was a little crooked. It didn't look right, so I decided to take some scissors and go ahead and cut it a little bit closer to the words, and it made it a little bit more even along the card. And then I was just taking a little hair there because it was a little bit off. Next thing I'm going to do is use some 3M foam tape. I'm just using a small piece here. I never throw away small pieces of this foam tape. I always just stick it back onto the roll so that you can use it for later, because sometimes you just need a small little piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this lined up, and you can see here I'll count the circles to make sure it's in the very middle. And then we're going to go ahead and get this glued onto a card base too, using some art glitter glue. I have that pressed down so that it stays stuck down onto the card. And then here we go with the glue. We're going to go ahead and get that taken care of and get that placed onto the card as well. Now we're just going to stick a little bling bling onto this card, and we're going to be using some rhinestones and some sequins and stuff that I have here in my stash. And I'm basically just going to match the color to the coordinating color on the crown. I don't really have an orange that I could use that they all match, so I just use two reds on the corner here. You actually can't even tell that's orange really on this video. But I'll also get the ones that match the yellow, and then the blue, and then the purple. And now that they're there, we're going to go ahead and get this put away so that we can go ahead and get this glued. So as I'm gluing this, I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and watching this video. I truly appreciate it. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and click that little bell so that you know that a new video is out. And then also a list of all the products that I've used are down in the description. So if you decide to go shop, please click those links. It helps me because it sends a little money my way so that I can make better videos for you guys. So make sure you check me out over on Instagram as well, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for being here. I truly do appreciate it. Here's a look at the two cards before we leave. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later and have a great week. Bye.